And welcome to Random Jules' Rants. Well, always a rant. No, is it this time actually? Because I've previously I uploaded the video game playing Jules video where I played Settlers 3. In that there was a segment where the screen capture wasn't on. And in that I talked in a quite lengthy way of things like quantum physics and belief and God and universe and the meaning of life and truth and all that nonsense. But since the screen capture wasn't on, it all ended up on the editing room's floor. In that I did mention that I would like to believe, I would love to believe in some great plan, some omnipotent being watching all over us and created all this for a purpose, and that our consciousness has got some meaning other than itself. And I thought let's focus on that a little bit, because it is, I think, very humane thing to have. I mean, I don't know about all of humans, but I think most humans would like to have some reason behind systems. For example, the evolution. There are so many people who get it so wrong by thinking that there is a direction to it, that there is a will behind it. It's mostly random events where living things adapt to. So I would like to believe, I think I would like to believe in God or gods for one particular reason. Because I would like to have a system where evildoers, evil people, selfish, greedy bastards of a people could get what's coming to them, get punished. In here they are rewarded. That's how this whole system that we've created works, really. More you destroy the environment, more you get rewards in life and easy going. More you cheat your fellow man and create mishaps and every that sort of thing. More you get applauded and applauded. And sometimes even elected for a president. Get that. And I suppose, yeah, it would give some comfort in this existence here. I don't know if comfort is the right word, because well, I think this is all unique. Every single one of us here, every single living thing is unique currently, and this moment now is unique and it will never come back. And like Mr. Hauser said, in the end of a great sci-fi flick, when I die, all of these moments will be lost like tears in rain. And that sort of sums up, I think, that little bit, because it seems such a waste, but then again it makes it all very, very special and magnificent and magical and divine, and it makes it more beautiful than if it would be sort of repeatable and if there would be some purpose. But anyway, yes, and then there's of course the issue of which god I would like to believe in. Well, I suppose I would pick someone which gets me into least amount of trouble. Because if the god would be, for example, an American white supremacy god, which there is quite a lot of worshippers out there in the West, then I would be so much trouble. Once again, if it were Allah, I would be in so much trouble. But I think perhaps Brahma, how it is pronounced, from Hinduism, that is pretty decent. It's just love, respect. Well, every religion says that they are a religion of love, but history shows many things. Anyway, I don't suppose you can just pick a religion. That is perhaps the main point of this pointless rant and talk, because how can you make yourself believe in something which you don't? That's really pointless effort now, is it? And of course, yes, I do believe in something that cannot be proven actually, not yet. I do believe that every single living thing has got its own consciousness. Of course, there are levels of consciousness, but every single living thing is aware of itself, and it's aware that it is alive and it wants to stay alive. That's not scientifically proven, but it's a thing that I believe in. And of course, yes, if you take the God for an example, you can always debate, because science doesn't explain, for example, the happenings before the Big Bang, the beginning of all of this. And what caused it, and every that sort of thing, then you can always argue that well, then God put it in motion, and even when we discover what happened before and what was, if by some miracle we discover, it can be quite challenging. But anyway, there's always a tiny speck of belief in which you can say that, well, there's your God. And fair enough, I suppose one great argument would be that if God wants to create truly free system of belief, then he would actually have to erase all of the evidence of its existence. Because if there was any slight evidence of existing a God, then it would not be a faith now, would it? It would be knowledge, which doesn't contradict one another. I've been told, mostly by religious scientists, which is actually a peculiar group on its own. Actually, it is a group which gives me a bit of a hope, because there is room for both. There's room for scientific accuracy, scientific method and worldview, and room for your personal beliefs. And furthermore, they tend to be very sort of mellow individuals. They respect, whereas the religious people who doesn't have that scientific background or approach to their faith tend to be a bit more fanatic. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yes, I would love to believe some omnipotent being watches over us. And most importantly, punishes bad people who mistreat others and mistreat basically the nature, other living things, which are all holy. That is also one thing I believe in. I would be very sad if science would find out tomorrow that life actually is meaningless. All other life is meaningless than humans, because we are capable of reasoning beyond every single other species, and all of the other life on this planet is expendable. That would make me very sad, and I suppose I would have quite a hard time digesting that and accepting that. But it seems, to me at least, that every single discovery in science of biology and nature is going the absolute opposite direction. It's constantly proven that animals and even plants are more capable of, they have got more mental abilities than we ever thought possible. I think that it is very easy to believe that, to think that as humans, when we know that we have got the cognitive abilities that we have got, and we like to find a reasoning behind every system that we see around us. We don't believe in blind chance. We don't believe in a luck, really, basically. Or we don't want to believe it. I don't know which case it is, but anyway. Then when we're hunter-gatherers, where I think first gods start to appear. I think, I'm not sure then, because I haven't studied. This is not a scientific exercise, this is just ramblings of a madman. In hunter-gatherer groups, when we started finally coming to grips of what is going on when we die, what's gonna happen to us when we die, when people we cared, grown to love, around us would perish and cease to exist. And I think our mind is just not capable of accepting that it is just there and it just ends there. And there's nothing else. And everything we see around us, every single living thing responding to our input, and well, communicate is a strong word, but coexisting with us would be there just by random chance. It was just, I think it would not have been possible for most of the human brain to accept that, and then it would be very easy, very comforting to create. And it, of course, the deities, first omnipotent beings, once lifted from the surroundings. There was a bear, an elk. Actually, elk was before bear. Here in Finland, at least, it was the first godly, divine creature, and the ravens, eagles, owls. They all took the shape of a god at one point. And it was just, I suppose, reassuring yourselves. But then it all went horribly wrong when we started to have organized religions, I suppose, and using religion beliefs, using the human fear as a means of achieving one's personal goal in politics, in power, and later in economics. And it's just, once again, some of us are capable of evil things, misleading our fellow man, exploiting the surroundings. In such an extent that it is very troublesome, very tiring. It's very, very hard for me to exist in this society that we are living currently, because it's just based on, well, it's getting, I suppose, slightly better, but it's still based on a competition. It's based on the exploitation of some less fortunate beings. It used to be colonists, so it would be very easy to point out it was wrong because they were human beings, just from a different continent, a different race. We exploited that. That's where the European society, where the well-being of Europeans has been created upon. It's widely regarded as such. And later on, of course, when we discovered the exploitation of another human being as a slavery is wrong, then we turned our attention to the living things that doesn't have got the voice or a face of a human, i.e. the nature. There was also, of course, overlapping of these. We exploited the nature as well as other human races in the beginning, but then when the slavery got out, we started to exploit solely on the nature, other living things. So it would give me personally a little bit of a relief knowing that the most evil people on this planet who exploit without thinking what they are doing, or even stupid people who don't care, who don't want to know what they are doing, those should be punished as well, because we've got endless amount of knowledge just in the palm of my hand, i.e. the phone, in the internet. Just be aware of the sources that you are reading, that they are accurate science, but there are tons and tons of research showing what the nature is all about. Knowledge is there. Learn it. Respect it and love everything. Just treat it with care and you should be okay. So stupid people, selfish people, evil people, all people, those sort of things should be punished. And there is no punishment on this society, on this life, on this planet. Or I suppose on any other planet for that matter. But anyway, so I would like to have at least in the point of death, which is once again very controversial thought, that we can live as pigs as long as we do, and then when we die, someone comes to tell us that was wrong. Not really working now, is it? Like I said, how can you make yourself believe something that you don't? I suppose you can't. I believe in random chance. Absolutely chaotic random events happening constantly all around the existence. And where possible, things started to crawl together to create molecules, amino acids, cells, life. And where, even further, where it was possible, it flourished into multicellular life form and adapted to chaotic, random events happening constantly all around them. And it multiplied, filled the earth, and even from that very first, I don't know, the line is very thin and red where I think the consciousness began, where self-awareness began. That is something, once again, this is my belief, but I think maybe DNA even. Strands of DNA has got the grains of that consciousness in it, because that's the building block of all this. Perhaps so. I haven't focused on that idea yet that much. But anyway, through that all came to this. It's all divine. It's all children of the stars, as we are. And we shall return to interstellar space once the sun expands into a red giant, or white giant, and then red dwarf. But anyway, I don't remember. Anyway, once it evaporates, this planet with all that have ever existed on it will once again be part of the interstellar space, part of the chaotic void. And perhaps one time in the future we shall find a gravity well and start to form another better world. That is pretty biblical, I suppose. But once again, evil people will get away with it, because there is no karma, there is no God to punish them. Perhaps there is. The sun, the stars, that's what we are made of. Okay, perhaps this will continue to go on and on and on and on and on for hours if I let it go. Have a nice day. Enjoy the spring. Enjoy the life. Respect it and love it. Peace out. See you next time. Well, okay, fair enough. Now that I have a chance of reflecting of what I'm saying, and I told you that every person would have to be punished. Well, first of all, there is no shortage of gods in history which are more than willing to do that. Unfortunately, none of them really exist. So, and anyway, punish people of doing what? Existing, living, because that's what it is. It's just living things want to be alive. And now that they can be alive in this extent, they want to be comfortable as well. Perhaps that's the main issue, because most of this, what we see around here everywhere, loss of biodiversity, climate change, huge amount of consumer consumption, energy consumption and everything. It's not that people need things, it's because people want things. There's a difference. So perhaps, well, no, punishment is just, it's not gonna work. It never has. Yeah. So edit that out, edit all that punishment nonsense out. So basically, this video was pointless, but waste of everyone's time.